Finding a crying baby in a luxury hotel room would change Maya Peterson's life forever, especially when she discovered the handwritten letter from tech billionaire Adrian Ross beside the infant. What started as another exhausting shift for an overlooked housekeeper became an extraordinary journey of love, trust, and second chances. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The morning sun filtered through the massive windows of the Grand Summit Hotel, casting golden light across the marble floors of the penthouse suites level. Maya Peterson adjusted her housekeeping cart, checking her assignment list for the day. At 32, she had been cleaning hotel rooms for nearly a decade, working her way up to the exclusive top floor where the wealthiest guests stayed. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills while she finished her degree in social work. Peterson, room 3012 needs priority cleaning. VIP checkout, barked Diane, the floor supervisor, as she strode past in her perfectly pressed suit. And make it quick, we have another check-in by noon. Maya nodded, used to the dismissive tone. In the world of luxury hotels, housekeepers were meant to be invisible, efficient ghosts who transformed chaos back into perfection without being seen. She wheeled her cart towards suite 3012, the largest penthouse on the floor. According to staff gossip, it had been occupied by someone important, though Maya rarely paid attention to which celebrity or business mogul was staying where. Unlocking the door with her master key, Maya stepped into what looked like the aftermath of a hurricane. Clothes were strewn across furniture, champagne bottles lay empty on coffee tables, and room service trays were stacked haphazardly by the door. Whoever had stayed here had left in a hurry. Great, she muttered, surveying the disaster. This would take twice the allocated 30 minutes. Sighing, Maya set to work, beginning with gathering the discarded clothing. As she moved through the spacious living area toward the bedroom, a sound stopped her mid-step. A cry, soft at first, then growing more insistent. Maya froze, her heart suddenly pounding. That sounded like... But it couldn't be. The room was supposed to be empty. The crying continued, definitely coming from the master bedroom. Cautiously, she approached the partially closed door and pushed it open. The massive king bed was unmade, sheets tangled and pillows scattered. But it was the improvised nest of blankets in the center that made Maya gasp. Nestled among luxury linens and propped carefully with pillows was a baby, perhaps 3 or 4 months old, face reddening as its cries grew more urgent. "Oh my God," Maya whispered, rushing forward. The baby, a girl, dressed in a simple white onesie, looked up at her with tear-filled eyes. Maya immediately checked to ensure the infant wasn't in distress, her years of babysitting her sister's children kicking in automatically. "Hey there, little one," she said softly, lifting the baby carefully. "Where did you come from? Where's your mommy or daddy?" The baby's cries softened as Maya held her, tiny fingers clutching at Maya's uniform. Looking around frantically for any sign of the parent, Maya noticed a thick cream-colored envelope propped against the lamp on the nightstand. Her name wasn't on it, but it was the only clue in sight. With the baby securely in one arm, Maya reached for the envelope and pulled out several folded papers. The top sheet was a handwritten letter on expensive stationery embossed with the initials AR. To whoever finds her, Maya read aloud, her voice shaking. "Her name is Sophia. She is 3 months old. I cannot give her what she needs. A normal life away from the spotlight and dangers that follow me. Her mother died in childbirth. I've left legal documents authorizing temporary guardianship to the finder of this letter until permanent arrangements can be made. I've also left funds to cover her care. Please, give her what I cannot, a chance at an ordinary life filled with love, not wealth and isolation. I will contact the hotel in 1 year's time. Until then, keep her safe. Adrian Ross." Maya nearly dropped the letter. Adrian Ross, the tech billionaire whose innovations had revolutionized artificial intelligence and whose face regularly appeared on magazine covers. Known for his genius, his wealth, and his extreme reclusiveness since the mysterious death of his wife a year ago. As if understanding the gravity of the moment, Little Sophia had quieted, staring up at Maya with curious eyes. "This can't be legal," Maya murmured, checking the other papers. But there they were. Legal documents, seemingly authentic, granting temporary guardianship to whoever found Sophia, along with access to a trust fund for her care. A bank card was paper-clipped to the forms, along with instructions to access the account. Maya's mind raced. She needed to call the police, or hotel security, or someone. This was abandonment, wasn't it? Yet something in the letter's desperate tone made her hesitate. The baby snuggled against her chest, warm and trusting. Before she could decide what to do, the door to the suite burst open. Maya tensed, thinking it might be Ross returning, but it was only Diane, the supervisor. "Peterson, what's taking so long? The new guests will be here in—" Diane stopped abruptly, her eyes widening at the sight of the baby in Maya's arms. "What on earth?" "I found her," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "The guest left her behind with this." She held up the letter with her free hand. Diane snatched it, eyes darting across the page. Her expression transformed from shock to calculation in seconds. "Adrian Ross," she breathed. "Do you know who he is?" Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "Of course I do," Maya replied. "But we need to call the authorities. We can't just—" "Wait." Diane held up a hand, still reading the documents. "This is all legally binding. He's left a fortune for this child's care." She looked up at Maya, something predatory in her gaze. "This could be worth millions to the hotel. The publicity alone." "Publicity?" Maya echoed, instinctively tightening her hold on Sophia. "This is a baby, not a marketing opportunity." Diane's phone was already in hand. "I'm calling Mr. Harrington. The hotel owner needs to hear about this immediately." She stepped into the hallway, her voice dropping to an urgent whisper. Left momentarily alone with Sophia, Maya felt a wave of protectiveness wash over her. The baby had fallen asleep against her shoulder, tiny breaths warm against her neck. Something about this didn't feel right. The letter suggested Ross wanted Sophia away from publicity and the spotlight, not thrown into it. When Diane returned, her expression was triumphant. "Mr. Harrington is on his way. He's bringing the hotel's lawyer. This is going to be huge, Peterson. The grand summit taking in the abandoned child of Adrian Ross will be in every newspaper, every news channel." "But the letter specifically says he wants her to have a normal life, away from the spotlight," Maya protested. Diane waved dismissively. "He gave up his right to dictate terms when he abandoned his child in our hotel." She eyed Maya critically. "Hand the baby to me. You need to finish cleaning this room." Maya hesitated, something in her unwilling to relinquish Sophia. "I think I should stay with her. She's comfortable with me now." "That wasn't a request, Peterson. Give me the baby and get back to work." Before Maya could respond, 3 men in expensive suits entered the suite. One she recognized as Edward Harrington, the hotel's billionaire owner, known for his ruthless business tactics and love of publicity. The others were presumably his attorneys. "Is this the child?" Harrington asked, barely glancing at Maya as he approached. "Yes, sir," Diane replied. "Left by Adrian Ross himself with legal documents transferring guardianship." Harrington snapped his fingers at one of the lawyers, who immediately took the papers from Diane and began reviewing them. "Fascinating," Harrington murmured, finally looking at Sophia. "Ross's secret love child. The media will devour this story." "Sir," Maya spoke up, surprising herself with her boldness. "The letter specifically asks that the baby be kept away from the spotlight." Harrington's cold eyes flicked to Maya as if noticing her for the first time. "And you are?" "Maya Peterson, sir. I'm the one who found her." "Ah," his gaze sharpened. "So technically, the temporary guardianship would fall to you." The lawyer looked up from the documents. "That appears to be correct, sir. These papers grant legal temporary guardianship to the finder until more permanent arrangements can be made." Something predatory flickered in Harrington's expression. "Well, Ms. Peterson, as your employer, I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that benefits everyone." The Grand Summit will take responsibility for the child. We'll create a special nursery, hire the best nannies. Imagine the publicity. Luxury hotel becomes guardian to billionaire's orphaned daughter. Maya felt sick. This was exactly what Ross had been trying to avoid. I don't think that's what Mr. Ross intended when he left her here. Mr. Ross abandoned his child in my hotel, Harrington said coldly. His intentions are irrelevant. Diane stepped forward, arms outstretched. Sophia, as if sensing the tension, began to whimper. In that moment, Maya made a decision that would change her life forever. No, she said firmly. The guardianship was granted to me as the finder, not to the hotel. The room went silent. Diane's arms froze mid-reach. Harrington's expression darkened dangerously. "Ms. Peterson," he said, his voice deceptively soft. "You seem to be confused about your position. You are a housekeeper. Nothing more." "I'm also a person with a conscience," Maya replied, surprising herself with her steady voice. "And according to these legal documents, I'm Sophia's temporary guardian. If you try to take her from me against my will, that's kidnapping." The lawyer coughed uncomfortably. "She's not wrong, sir. Legally speaking, the documents do specify the finder, not the establishment." Harrington's face flushed with anger. "Then consider yourself fired, Miss Peterson. Return your uniform by the end of the day." Maya's heart pounded, but she didn't back down. "Fine. I'll need today's pay and any accumulated vacation time paid out immediately, as required by state law." She hadn't planned to say that. It had just come out, as if someone braver than her had momentarily taken control. The lawyer nodded, almost imperceptibly. "That is the law, sir." Harrington looked like he might explode, but instead, he straightened his tie. "Process her final paycheck," he snapped at Diane, "and have security escort her out." He turned back to Maya, his voice glacial. "You have no idea what you're doing, taking on Adrian Ross's problems. He destroys everyone who gets close to him. Ask his dead wife." With that parting shot, he stormed out, lawyers trailing behind him. Diane gave Maya a look that mixed contempt with something like grudging respect. "I'll get your paperwork started," she said stiffly. "Wait here." Left alone with Sophia again, Maya's bravado evaporated. What had she done? She'd just lost her job, her steady income, her health insurance, all for a baby she'd known for less than an hour. Panic threatened to overwhelm her. Sophia squirmed in her arms, those innocent eyes finding Maya's face. Then, unexpectedly, the baby smiled. A toothless, trusting grin that hit Maya like a physical force. Something fierce and protective surged through her. "It's okay, little one," she whispered. "We'll figure this out together." By the time Maya left the Grand Summit Hotel for the last time, the reality of her situation was sinking in. She carried Sophia wrapped in a hotel blanket. She'd worry about the theft charges later. A hastily packed diaper bag with supplies left in the suite, and an envelope containing her final paycheck and vacation pay. The bank card Adrian Ross had left was securely in her pocket, untouched. The bright summer day seemed at odds with the turmoil in Maya's mind as she stood on the sidewalk, uncertain where to go. Her tiny studio apartment wasn't set up for a baby. She had no crib, no formula, no diapers beyond what had been left in the suite. "Maya." She turned to see Cameron, the hotel's friendly doorman, jogging toward her. In his 3 years at the Grand Summit, he'd been one of the few staff members who treated the housekeepers with genuine respect. "I heard what happened upstairs," he said, glancing at Sophia. "Harrington's on the warpath. He's already called the police." Maya's blood ran cold. "The police? Claiming you stole property or something." Cameron's kind face was creased with worry. "You need to get somewhere safe. Figure this out. Do you have a lawyer?" Maya laughed humorlessly. "On a housekeeper's salary? Besides, I don't think I've done anything illegal. The guardianship papers may not hold up if Ross isn't of sound mind or if they weren't properly executed. Cameron finished. Look, my sister's a family law attorney. Let me call her. Before Maya could protest, he was already dialing. After a brief conversation filled with legal terminology that made Maya's head spin, he handed her the phone. Hello? Ms. Peterson? A brisk female voice said. I'm Layla Washington. Cameron explained the situation. Where are you right now? Outside the hotel, Maya replied, feeling increasingly overwhelmed. Not safe. You need to leave immediately. Do you have somewhere to go where Harrington's people won't find you? Maya thought quickly. My friend Zoe has a place outside the city. She's been trying to get me to visit for ages. Perfect. Go there now. Don't use your credit cards or phone if possible. They can be traced. I'll meet you there this evening to review the documents and discuss options. The call ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving Maya staring at Cameron's phone. He took it back with an apologetic smile. Layla's intense but brilliant, he assured her. If anyone can help, she can. He pressed something into her hand, a wad of cash, for a taxi and supplies. Don't argue, he added as Maya began to protest. Consider it my investment in sticking it to Harrington. That man's been making employees cry for years. Tears pricked at Maya's eyes. Thank you, Cameron. I'll pay you back, I promise. Just take care of that little one, he replied, gently touching Sophia's cheek. And yourself. 2 hours later, Maya sat in Zoe Chen's cozy farmhouse kitchen, 30 miles from the city. Sophia was asleep in a makeshift crib fashioned from a dresser drawer and blankets, while Zoe, a nurse who worked night shifts at the city hospital, examined the legal documents spread across the table. I still can't believe you just took a baby, Zoe said, shaking her head in amazement. The Maya I know checks if it's okay to eat the free cookies at hotel staff meetings. I didn't exactly plan it, Maya replied, rubbing her temples. It just happened when Harrington started talking about publicity and using her as a marketing tool. Your protective instincts kicked in, Zoe finished, squeezing her friend's hand. It's why you'll make an amazing social worker once you finish your degree. The doorbell rang, making both women jump. Zoe peeked through the curtains. There's a very professional-looking woman in a suit out there, she reported, with Cameron. It was indeed Layla Washington, Cameron's sister, who swept into the farmhouse kitchen with the focused energy of someone who billed by the hour. She was younger than Maya had expected, perhaps in her early 30s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Let me see the documents, she said by way of greeting. For the next hour, Layla pored over every paper Adrian Ross had left, making notes and occasionally asking questions. Finally, she looked up. These appear legitimate, she said. Not the usual way temporary guardianship is established, but Ross has clearly gone to great lengths to make this legally binding. His signature is notarized, and there's evidence he consulted top family law experts. So Maya isn't kidnapping the baby? Zoe asked bluntly. Not based on these documents. However, Layla cautioned, Harrington has resources and influence. He's already filed a police report claiming Maya stole hotel property and a child left in the hotel's care. That's ridiculous, Maya protested. Sophia isn't property. Of course not, but it creates complications. We need to be proactive. Layla tapped her pen against the table. I suggest we file for formal temporary guardianship with the family court immediately, using these documents as supporting evidence. That establishes an official record before Harrington can spin his own narrative. Maya glanced toward the sleeping baby, and if Adrian Ross comes back, he said he'd contact the hotel in a year. These documents give you guardianship for up to 18 months, Layla explained. After that, the situation would be reevaluated. If Ross returns, the court would consider his claim alongside yours. Alongside mine? Maya echoed. I'm not trying to keep his child from him. I just didn't want Sophia used as a publicity stunt. Layla studied Maya for a moment. You've already formed an attachment to her, she observed, not unkindly. Had she? Maya thought about the fierce protectiveness she'd felt in that hotel suite. The way Sophia had smiled at her. I just want what's best for her. For now, that appears to be you, Layla said, The alternative is foster care while the courts sort this out, which could take months given the high-profile nature of the case. The thought of Sophia in the system made Maya's decision immediate. What do I need to do? The next morning brought a flurry of activity. Layla arrived with court papers requiring Maya's signature. Zoe helped transform a spare bedroom into a nursery using supplies Cameron had delivered. And throughout it all, Sophia remained remarkably calm, as if she somehow knew she was exactly where she needed to be. It wasn't until late afternoon, when Maya was finally alone with Sophia, gently rocking her after a feeding, that she allowed herself to truly process the whirlwind of the past 24 hours. "What have we gotten ourselves into, little one?" she whispered, stroking the baby's soft cheek. Sophia's only answer was to grasp Maya's finger in her tiny hand, holding on with surprising strength, as if to say, whatever comes next, we'll face it together. The first month of caring for Sophia passed in a blur of sleepless nights, court appearances, and constant anxiety. Maya had moved into Zoe's farmhouse temporarily, converting the spare bedroom into a simple nursery with a second-hand crib and changing table. Though Adrian Ross had left a small fortune to care for his daughter, Maya had barely touched the money, using it only for Sophia's immediate needs: formula, diapers, and a few essential clothes. "You need to think long-term," Layla advised during one of her regular visits. She spread documents across Zoe's kitchen table, while Maya gently bounced Sophia against her shoulder. "The initial guardianship order has been granted, but Harrington isn't backing down. He's hired a team of lawyers to challenge it." "On what grounds?" Maya asked, rubbing Sophia's back as the baby drifted to sleep. "They're claiming you coerced the hotel into letting you take the child, that you had no right to remove her from the premises." Layla sighed, removing her glasses to rub her eyes. "It's nonsense legally, but Harrington has connections with the district judge. He's dragging this out, hoping you'll give up." Maya looked down at Sophia's peaceful face. In just weeks, the baby had changed so much, smiling whenever she saw Maya, cooing in response to songs, gripping Maya's finger with surprising strength. "I won't give up," she said quietly. "Not on her." "I know." Layla's expression softened. "Which is why we need to establish more permanence. You can't live in Zoe's spare room forever, and you need income." The reality of Maya's situation hit her anew. Her savings were dwindling rapidly. The job search had been disastrous. Apparently, Harrington had blacklisted her throughout the hotel industry. Without references, finding comparable work was nearly impossible. "I've been applying everywhere," Maya said, trying to keep the desperation from her voice. "But with the court dates and caring for Sophia—" "Use the money Ross left," Layla suggested, "not for the first time. That's what it's there for." Maya shook her head stubbornly. "That's Sophia's money for her future. I'm not touching it unless absolutely necessary." "Then we need another approach." Layla tapped her pen thoughtfully against the table. "What about your social work degree? How close are you to finishing?" "Just 3 classes and an internship," Maya replied. "But I had to withdraw this semester when all this happened." Layla's eyes brightened with sudden inspiration. "What if we turn this situation into your internship? Caring for a child in unusual circumstances, navigating the legal system, advocating for her needs. That's social work in action." For the first time in weeks, Maya felt a flicker of hope. "Do you think the university would accept that?" "Leave it to me," Layla said with a determined smile. "I know the dean of social work personally." 2 days later, Maya received the call that changed everything. Not only had the university approved a modified internship program that incorporated her guardianship of Sophia, but they'd offered her a part-time position as an administrative assistant in the social work department, work she could partially do from home. They're even offering childcare through the university's early childhood education program, Layla explained triumphantly. Sophia would be cared for by students training to become early childhood educators, supervised by professors. For the first time since finding Sophia, Maya broke down in tears. Not of stress or fear, but of overwhelming relief. "I don't know how to thank you," she managed between sobs. "Just take care of that little girl. Layla replied softly. "And finish your degree. The world needs social workers like you." With her immediate future secured, Maya began the process of finding a small apartment near the university campus. Using a tiny portion of Sophia's trust fund, which she meticulously documented, intending to repay every cent, she secured a modest two-bedroom unit in a quiet neighborhood. The day they moved in, Zoe and Cameron helped carry the few pieces of furniture Maya had purchased secondhand. "It's not much," Maya apologized, looking around the sparsely furnished living room. "It's perfect," Zoe insisted, arranging a small bouquet of daisies on the coffee table. "It's a home." That evening, after everyone had left, Maya sat in the rocking chair beside Sophia's crib, watching the baby sleep. The apartment was quiet except for the gentle whirring of the ceiling fan and distant sounds of neighbors living their lives. "Welcome home, little one," she whispered. "I promise to make it the best home I can for you." As if in response, Sophia sighed softly in her sleep, her tiny hand resting against the stuffed elephant Maya had splurged on as a housewarming gift for her. The following months established a rhythm to their lives. Maya attended classes 2 evenings a week while Zoe watched Sophia. During the day, she worked part-time at the university, while Sophia stayed at the campus childcare center. Weekends were sacred time for just the two of them. Trips to the park, reading books, or simply lying on a blanket watching Sophia discover her toes. Through it all, the legal battle with Harrington continued to simmer in the background. Every few weeks brought a new court appearance, a new motion filed by his attorneys, a new attempt to undermine Maya's guardianship. "He's relentless," Maya commented to Layla after yet another hearing had been postponed. "Why does he care so much about one baby?" "It's not about Sophia anymore," Layla explained grimly. "It's about winning. Edward Harrington doesn't lose, ever. And you challenged him publicly." Despite the ongoing legal stress, Maya found unexpected joy in her new life. Sophia was thriving, growing more interactive and expressive each day. Her first real laugh, prompted by Maya making silly faces during a diaper change, had been recorded and replayed countless times. Her first attempts at crawling transformed the apartment into a baby-proofing challenge that Maya tackled with determination. One Saturday morning, as Maya pushed Sophia's stroller through the local farmer's market, a tall man in expensive sunglasses bumped into her, nearly knocking over the diaper bag hanging from her shoulder. "Sorry," he muttered, steadying the bag before continuing on his way. Something about his voice triggered a memory, but before Maya could place it, Sophia began fussing for her morning snack. By the time she'd settled the baby with crackers, the man had disappeared into the crowd. That night, after putting Sophia to bed, Maya noticed something unusual about the diaper bag. The outer pocket, where she kept her keys and phone, was slightly unzipped. Checking inside, she found a small, unmarked envelope that hadn't been there before. Her hands trembling slightly, Maya opened it to find a handwritten note on plain paper. "You're doing an amazing job with her. Thank you for giving her what I couldn't. Normality and genuine love. Keep her safe. The wolves are still circling. A." Maya sank onto the couch, her heart pounding. Adrian Ross had been watching them. For how long? And what did he mean about wolves still circling? Before she could process this new development, her phone rang with Layla's ringtone. "Turn on the news," Layla said without preamble. "Channel 7. Now." Maya fumbled for the remote, switching on the small television she rarely used. The screen filled with footage of Edward Harrington at a press conference, his expression grave beneath the breaking news banner. "Disturbing development in the case of the Ross baby," he was saying. "New evidence suggests that the child may have been kidnapped by a former hotel employee as part of an extortion scheme. We have reason to believe Ms. Peterson has been in contact with Adrian Ross, demanding payment for the child's return." Maya watched in horror as her employee ID photo appeared on screen beside a candid shot of her walking with Sophia in the park. The caption beneath read, "Suspected kidnapper?" "He's lying," she whispered into the phone. "This is insane." It gets worse, Layla replied grimly. He's filed for an emergency hearing tomorrow morning. He's demanding immediate removal of Sophia from your care pending a criminal investigation. Can he do that? Not if we're prepared. Pack a bag for you and Sophia. I'm sending Cameron to bring you to my place tonight. We need to strategize. And I don't trust your apartment not to be watched after this broadcast. An hour later, Maya sat in Layla's sleek downtown apartment, Sophia sleeping peacefully in a portable crib while the adults gathered around the dining table. Cameron and Zoe had both insisted on coming, forming a protective circle around Maya and the baby. First things first, Layla said, spreading papers across the table. We need to address the criminal allegations. Maya, do you still have the note? Maya handed over the cryptic message from Adrian Ross, explaining how she'd received it at the farmer's market. Layla examined it carefully. This actually helps us. It proves Ross left the baby willingly in your care and approves of your guardianship. But it's not enough on its own. What about the original documents? Cameron suggested. They clearly show Ross intended for the finder to become Sophia's guardian. Harrington's lawyers are now claiming those could be forgeries, Layla explained. Without Ross himself to authenticate them, they're trying to cast doubt. This is ridiculous, Zoe exploded. Anyone who spends 5 minutes with Maya and Sophia can see they belong together. That baby adores her. Unfortunately, the court doesn't make decisions based on a baby's smile, Layla said gently. We need something concrete to counter Harrington's allegations. Maya had been quiet, thinking about the man at the farmer's market, Adrian Ross himself, watching his daughter from a distance. What if, she began hesitantly, what if we could get Adrian Ross to appear in court? 3 pairs of eyes turned to her in surprise. You know where he is? Layla asked sharply. No, but I think he's been watching us. The man who bumped into me today, I think it was him. Maya recounted the brief encounter. He knows where we live, our routines. If he cares enough to check on Sophia, maybe he cares enough to stop Harrington. Even if you're right, how would we contact him? Cameron asked. The man's a ghost. Hasn't been seen publicly since his wife died. Maya thought for a moment, then smiled slowly. We don't contact him. We let him contact us. She turned to Layla. How fast can you arrange a press conference? The next morning, as Harrington's emergency hearing was set to begin, Maya stood on the courthouse steps, facing a crowd of journalists Layla had summoned through her media contacts. Sophia was securely strapped to her chest in a baby carrier, sleeping despite the commotion. My name is Maya Peterson, she began, her voice steadier than she felt. 10 months ago, I found this baby girl abandoned in a hotel suite, with legal documents transferring guardianship to whoever found her. Those documents were signed by Adrian Ross, who wanted his daughter to have a normal life away from the spotlight and dangers that had already claimed her mother's life. She took a deep breath, looking directly into the cameras. Since then, I have dedicated my life to giving Sophia exactly what her father wanted for her: safety, stability, and love. I have used almost none of the money Mr. Ross left for her care, instead working and studying to provide for her myself. Maya shifted slightly, adjusting Sophia, who was beginning to stir. Edward Harrington has waged a relentless legal campaign against us, not because he cares about Sophia's welfare, but because his ego was bruised when I refused to let him exploit this child for publicity. Murmurs rippled through the assembled reporters. Maya continued, her voice growing stronger. Yesterday, Mr. Harrington publicly accused me of kidnapping and extortion, serious criminal allegations that threatened to tear Sophia away from the only home and caregiver she has known. These accusations are completely false. She looked down at Sophia, who had awakened and was staring up at her with complete trust. Drawing strength from that gaze, Maya addressed her final words not to the cameras, but seemingly to the air itself. Adrian Ross entrusted his daughter to me. I have honored that trust every day. If anyone questions my right to care for Sophia, let them step forward now and say it to my face. The crowd of reporters erupted with questions, but Maya simply turned and walked into the courthouse, Layla at her side. That should get his attention, Layla murmured. Let's hope so, Maya replied. Because without him, I'm not sure we can win this. The emergency hearing was already underway when they entered the courtroom. Harrington sat with his team of attorneys, looking confident and imposing in an expensive suit. The judge, an older woman Maya hadn't seen in previous hearings, watched impassively as they took their seats. "Ms. Washington," she acknowledged Layla, "we were about to proceed without you." "Apologies, Your Honor," Layla replied smoothly. "We were addressing the false allegations Mr. Harrington made to the media yesterday." The judge's eyebrows rose slightly. "Yes, those allegations are part of what we're here to discuss." She turned to Harrington's lead attorney. "You may begin." What followed was a masterclass in character assassination. Harrington's lawyer painted Maya as an opportunist who had seized a chance encounter with an abandoned baby to access Adrian Ross's fortune. They presented bank statements showing the trust fund Ross had established, substantially larger than Maya had realized, and implied she was slowly draining it for personal use. "Furthermore, Your Honor," the attorney continued, "we have evidence suggesting Ms. Peterson has been in contact with Adrian Ross, potentially as part of an extortion scheme." Maya stiffened, and Layla placed a warning hand on her arm. "May I see this evidence?" the judge requested. The attorney produced hotel security footage showing the tall man from the farmer's market entering the Grand Summit Hotel the day before Sophia was found. "We believe this is Adrian Ross himself, meeting with Ms. Peterson to arrange the handoff of his child in exchange for financial compensation." Maya gasped. "That's a lie! I never met him before yesterday at the farmer's market." "Control your client, Ms. Washington," the judge warned. Layla stood. "Your Honor, this is absurd. The footage shows a man who may or may not be Adrian Ross entering the hotel. It does not show him meeting my client, who was assigned to clean his room only after he had checked out." Nevertheless, Harrington's attorney continued smoothly. "Given the serious nature of these allegations, we request immediate removal of the child from Ms. Peterson's care pending investigation." The judge looked thoughtful. "Ms. Washington, do you have evidence contradicting these claims?" Layla hesitated. The note from Ross would support their case, but without authentication, it might not be enough. Before she could respond, the courtroom doors opened. A tall, thin man in a simple dark suit walked down the center aisle. Despite his subdued appearance, an immediate hush fell over the room. Even without the trademark hooded sweatshirts he wore in rare public appearances, Adrian Ross was instantly recognizable. "I believe I can provide that evidence, Your Honor," he said quietly. The judge's composure slipped momentarily. "Mr. Ross, is that you?" "It is." He approached the bench, his gaze briefly touching on Sophia, who was watching the proceedings with curious eyes from Maya's lap. "I apologize for my dramatic entrance, but it seemed necessary given the circumstances." Harrington had gone pale, his confident demeanor crumbling as Ross nodded coldly in his direction. "Your Honor," Ross continued, "every allegation against Ms. Peterson is false. I have never met her before today, though I have observed her from a distance to ensure my daughter's well-being. The documents granting her guardianship are legitimate and were prepared by my attorneys." He reached into his jacket and removed a folder. "I have brought notarized affidavits from those attorneys confirming the authenticity of the documents, as well as my own sworn statement explaining my actions." The judge accepted the folder, scanning its contents with increasing interest. "This is quite extraordinary, Mr. Ross." "The circumstances are extraordinary, Your Honor." For the first time, Ross turned fully toward Maya and Sophia. His expression softened as he looked at his daughter. "When my wife died in childbirth, I was devastated. I knew I couldn't provide the stable, normal childhood Sophia deserves. My life involves constant security threats, no privacy, and little room for the everyday moments children need." He paused, seeming to gather himself. "I researched the Grand Summit Hotel thoroughly before choosing it. I wanted Sophia found by someone ordinary, someone who would care for her without caring about my wealth or name. Ms. Peterson has exceeded every hope I had." Maya sat stunned, clutching Sophia closer as Ross continued. "As for Mr. Harrington's allegations, they are malicious fabrications motivated by revenge against Ms. Peterson for refusing to let him exploit my daughter for publicity. I have evidence of his attempts to capitalize on Sophia's situation, including internal hotel memos discussing marketing strategies centered around the Ross baby. The courtroom had gone completely silent. Ross addressed the judge directly. "I'm not asking to take my daughter back, Your Honor. I'm asking that you respect the legal arrangements I made for her care with Ms. Peterson, who has proven herself to be exactly the guardian Sophia needs." The judge studied Ross for a long moment, then turned her attention to Maya. "Ms. Peterson, you've remained silent. Do you wish to continue as Sophia's guardian, knowing Mr. Ross is alive and present?" Maya looked down at Sophia, then at Adrian Ross. The billionaire's eyes held a sadness and resignation that touched her heart. Whatever his flaws or reasons, he truly believed he couldn't give his daughter what she needed. "Yes, Your Honor," Maya said firmly. "I love Sophia as if she were my own, but I also believe she deserves to know her father." She took a deep breath, then offered something she hadn't planned. "Perhaps we could find a way for Mr. Ross to be part of her life, safely and on terms that protect her normal childhood." Something like hope flickered across Ross's austere features. The judge nodded slowly. "Given the evidence presented and Mr. Ross's testimony, I am dismissing all allegations against Ms. Peterson. The temporary guardianship will remain in place." She turned a stern gaze toward Harrington. "Furthermore, I am issuing a restraining order preventing Mr. Harrington or any agents of the Grand Summit Hotel from approaching Ms. Peterson or the child." As the judge continued outlining her ruling, Maya found herself making eye contact with Adrian Ross. The mysterious billionaire gave her a small, grateful nod, acknowledgement of the precious trust between them. For the first time since finding Sophia, Maya felt certain they were going to be okay. The autumn leaves crunched beneath Maya's feet as she pushed Sophia's stroller along the park path. At 14 months old, Sophia was becoming increasingly resistant to the stroller, preferring to toddle along on her own unsteady legs, exploring every leaf, stick, and pebble along the way. "Just a little farther, sweetie," Maya encouraged, checking her watch. "He'll be waiting at the playground." In the 3 months since the dramatic courtroom confrontation, they had settled into an unexpected routine. Every Saturday morning, Adrian Ross would meet them at this quiet neighborhood park. The billionaire tech genius who shunned public appearances somehow managed to blend in here, dressed in simple jeans and sweaters, just another parent watching his child play. As they rounded the bend toward the playground, Maya spotted him sitting alone on a bench, his tall figure hunched slightly against the morning chill. Though these meetings had become regular, there was still an awkwardness between the adults. Two strangers connected only by their love for one small child. "There he is, Sophia," Maya said softly. "There's your daddy." At the sound of her voice, Adrian looked up, his serious face transforming with a smile as Sophia squealed and strained against her stroller straps, recognizing him instantly. "Good morning," he greeted them, rising to his feet. His eyes, so much like his daughter's, moved from Sophia to Maya. "How was her week?" "Busy," Maya replied, lifting Sophia from the stroller. "She's figured out how to climb onto the couch, so nothing is safe anymore." Adrian laughed, a sound that had become less rare over these weeks. "May I?" he asked, holding out his arms. Maya handed Sophia over, watching as the baby patted her father's face in greeting. There was something both heartwarming and heartbreaking about these moments. Seeing the natural bond between father and daughter, while knowing the complicated circumstances that kept them separated most of the time. "I brought something for her," Adrian said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He produced a small handcrafted wooden toy, a simple car with wheels that actually turned. "I made it myself." Maya raised her eyebrows in surprise. "You made this?" Adrian nodded, suddenly self-conscious. "I've been taking woodworking classes. Something normal. Using my hands instead of coding for a change." He demonstrated the toy for Sophia, who immediately grabbed it and began examining it with intense concentration. "It's beautiful," Maya said sincerely. She loves wooden toys. They settled on the bench, Sophia between them, as she alternated between playing with the car and attempting to escape to the nearby sandbox. "I have something to discuss with you," Adrian said after a comfortable silence. "About Sophia's future." Maya tensed. Despite the judge's ruling, she lived with the constant fear that he might change his mind, might decide to reclaim his daughter completely. After all, what judge would deny a biological father his rights, especially one with Adrian's resources? Noticing her expression, Adrian quickly added, "It's nothing bad. Actually, I hope you'll see it as positive." He took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about making the guardianship arrangement more permanent, legally permanent." "What do you mean?" Maya asked cautiously. "Adoption," he said simply. "I want to sign over full parental rights to you." Maya stared at him, stunned. "But she's your daughter, your only child." Adrian watched Sophia as she concentrated on rolling her wooden car across the bench between them. "Yes, she is, which is why I want what's truly best for her." He met Maya's gaze. "And that's you, Maya. A stable home, a normal life, everything I can't give her." "You could," Maya said softly. "You could change your life, step back from your company." He shook his head. "It's not just the work. My wife was killed because of who I am, because of enemies I've made. The car accident that took her life wasn't an accident at all." His voice had dropped to almost a whisper. "I live with security protocols most people can't imagine. That's no life for a child." Maya absorbed this, the implications of what he was saying sending a chill through her despite the morning sunshine. "I had no idea," she murmured. "I've kept it quiet. But it's why I can never be the full-time father she deserves." He gently stroked Sophia's dark curls, so like his own. "When I left her at the hotel, I hoped someone kind would find her. What I never expected was that you would fight so hard for her, love her so completely, sacrifice everything to keep her safe." Tears pricked at Maya's eyes. "She makes it easy to love her." "So does the right parent," Adrian replied quietly. "I see how she looks at you, Maya, how she turns to you first when she's unsure, how she calms when you hold her. That bond is worth protecting, legally and permanently." Sophia chose that moment to abandon her wooden car and clamber onto Maya's lap, resting her head against Maya's chest in a gesture of complete trust and contentment. "Will you think about it?" Adrian asked. "You wouldn't be cutting me out of her life. I'd still hope to visit, to know her, but she would be legally yours in every way that matters." Maya hugged Sophia closer, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he was offering. "I need time," she managed. "Of course." He nodded. "There's no rush." They spent the rest of the morning watching Sophia play in the sandbox, talking about her development, her new words, her emerging personality, the safe topics of shared parenting. When it was time to leave, Adrian helped buckle Sophia into her stroller. "Same time next week?" he asked, an uncertainty in his voice that seemed at odds with his public image as a tech visionary who had revolutionized artificial intelligence. "We'll be here," Maya promised. As she pushed the stroller away, Maya glanced back to see Adrian still standing by the bench, watching them go, a solitary figure against the autumn landscape. That evening, after Sophia was asleep, Maya called Layla, needing her friend's legal expertise and personal insight. "He wants to give up his parental rights completely?" Layla asked, the surprise evident in her voice even over the phone. "That's unusual for someone who clearly cares about his child." "He says it's for her safety," Maya explained, describing what Adrian had told her about the threats in his life. "That actually tracks with what I've learned about his wife's death," Layla said. "Officially it was ruled an accident, but there were rumors in legal circles that it was targeted." Maya paced her small living room, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. "If I say yes, am I depriving Sophia of her father? Her heritage? All the opportunities his world could give her? Or are you giving her safety, stability, and unconditional love?" Layla countered gently. "Maya, you've been her mother in every way that counts since the day you found her. The law would just be catching up to reality." After hanging up, Maya went to check on Sophia, watching her sleep peacefully in her crib, clutching the wooden car her father had made. The past year had transformed Maya's life in ways she never could have imagined when she entered that hotel suite. From a struggling housekeeper to a nearly graduated social worker, from a woman alone to a mother with a circle of devoted friends who had become family. And now Adrian was offering to make it permanent, legal, uncontestable. The next morning, Maya was awakened by Sophia's happy babbling through the baby monitor. As she went to lift her daughter from the crib, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Checking it one-handed while balancing Sophia on her hip, she froze at the headline. Tech billionaire Adrian Ross targeted in assassination attempt. The article described a shooting outside Ross's company headquarters the previous evening, just hours after he'd left them at the park. He had escaped with minor injuries, but his security chief had been seriously wounded. With shaking hands, Maya tried calling the private number Adrian had given her for emergencies, but it went straight to voicemail. She left a brief message expressing concern, then spent the day checking news updates obsessively while trying to maintain Sophia's normal routine. It was after Sophia's bedtime when there was a quiet knock at her apartment door. Checking the peephole cautiously, Maya gasped at the sight of Adrian himself, a bandage visible at his temple, his normally immaculate appearance disheveled. "I'm sorry to come unannounced," he said when she opened the door, "but after what happened, I needed to see her." His voice held an urgency she'd never heard before. "Of course." Maya stepped aside to let him in. "She's asleep, but you can look in on her." Adrian moved quietly to Sophia's room, standing in the doorway to watch his daughter sleep. Maya stayed back, giving him space, noticing the tense set of his shoulders, the way his hands trembled slightly. "She's safe," he whispered, more to himself than to Maya. "They don't know about her. She's safe." When he finally turned away from the doorway, his face was composed again, but his eyes held a new resolve. "The adoption papers," he said without preamble. "I've had them drawn up already. My lawyers can file them tomorrow if you're willing." "Adrian," Maya began gently, "you've just been through a traumatic experience. Maybe we should wait." "There's no more time to wait," he interrupted, his voice low but intense. "What happened today makes everything clearer. The danger is real, and it's escalating. Sophia needs to be legally yours, with no paper trail connecting her to me." Maya led him to the living room, motioning for him to sit on the couch while she took the armchair opposite. "Tell me what's really going on," she said quietly. "The full truth." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, wincing slightly as his fingers brushed the bandage. "My work in AI has implications. Military implications, among others. There are governments, organizations that would do anything to control it, to control me." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Emma, my wife, was killed because she was my weakness, my vulnerability. They thought by taking her, they could control me. And now you're afraid they'll discover Sophia," Maya finished, understanding dawning. He nodded grimly. "As long as she's legally my daughter, the connection can be traced. But if she's yours, if there's no official link—" He trailed off, the implication clear. "You're trying to erase yourself from her life to protect her," Maya said softly. "Not completely," Adrian corrected. "I still want to know her, to see her grow. But legally, publicly, she needs to be solely yours." Maya thought of the scared baby she'd found in a hotel room, the trust fund she'd barely touched, the wooden car crafted by a father's hands. She thought of Edward Harrington's predatory interest in exploiting Sophia's connection to Ross, and what others with darker motives might do. "The adoption," she said slowly. "It would be full, permanent?" "Completely," Adrian confirmed, "with provisions for my continued informal relationship with her and financial support through channels that can't be traced." "And when she's older, when she asks about her birth parents?" A shadow crossed Adrian's face. "You'll tell her the truth when she's ready, that her mother died bringing her into the world, that her father loved her enough to give her the one thing he couldn't provide himself, a safe, normal childhood." Maya closed her eyes, imagining the conversation she would someday have with Sophia. The questions, the confusion, perhaps even anger, but also the protection this arrangement would provide. "Yes," she said finally, opening her eyes to meet his gaze. "I'll adopt her." Relief washed over Adrian's features. "Thank you," he whispered. "Not for you," Maya clarified gently. "For her." The adoption process moved with astonishing speed, greased by Adrian's resources and connections. 6 weeks after the assassination attempt, Maya stood in a judge's private chambers, Adrian at her side, as the final papers were signed. "By the power vested in me by the state," the judge declared, "I hereby decree that Sophia Emma Peterson is legally your daughter, with all rights and responsibilities thereof." Maya looked down at the toddler balanced on her hip, who was more interested in the judge's colorful tie than the momentous legal proceedings. "My daughter," she whispered, the words both strange and completely natural on her tongue. Adrian watched them, his expression a complex mixture of loss and peace. When the judge left them alone for a moment, he reached into his pocket and produced a small velvet box. "A gift," he said, offering it to Maya. "For both of you." Inside was a delicate gold locket on a chain. When Maya opened it, she found a tiny photograph of Sophia on one side, and on the other, a picture of Adrian with a beautiful dark-haired woman. Emma, Sophia's mother. "So she'll always know where she came from," Adrian explained softly, "even if the world never knows." Maya fought back tears as she closed the locket. "Thank you," she managed. "We'll treasure it." "There's one more thing," Adrian said, his tone shifting to something more businesslike. "A trust has been established for both of you. For Sophia's education, health, anything she might need. And for you, Maya, for the remarkable woman who saved my daughter when I couldn't." Maya started to protest, but Adrian held up a hand. "Please, you've given up so much to care for her. Your career advancement, financial stability, even relationships. This isn't payment. It's the security you both deserve." After a moment, Maya nodded. "Thank you." As they left the courthouse, Adrian hung back slightly. "I should go separately," he said. "No photographs of us together, remember?" The reality of their unusual arrangement settled over Maya again. "Next Saturday at the park?" she asked. "I'll be there," he promised. With one last look at Sophia, who waved a chubby hand in his direction, Adrian Ross turned and walked away, soon disappearing into the crowd. 2 years passed in a blur of milestones. Sophia's first sentence, her first day of preschool, her growing vocabulary and boundless curiosity. Maya completed her social work degree and found a position at a family support center that allowed her flexible hours and the satisfaction of helping other families navigate difficult transitions. Their Saturday mornings with Adrian continued, though with increasing precautions. Sometimes he would appear with his hair dyed or wearing glasses or with a subtle prosthetic that altered the shape of his nose or jawline. His security team would sweep the park beforehand, positioned discreetly at a distance during their meetings. Sophia, now 3.5, accepted these visits as normal, calling Adrian "my friend" rather than "daddy," a protective measure Adrian himself had suggested. She didn't question why her special friend brought her handmade wooden toys, or why he sometimes knew things about her that she hadn't told him. One crisp Saturday morning, Adrian seemed particularly pensive as they watched Sophia navigate the playground equipment with growing confidence. "You've done an amazing job with her," he said, observing how she shared her toys with another child without prompting. "She's kind, secure, happy." "She has a good heart," Maya replied. "Like her parents." Adrian gave her a grateful look. "I'm leaving the country," he said after a moment. "For at least a year, maybe longer." Maya felt a pang of sadness, both for herself and for Sophia. Despite the unusual circumstances, Adrian had become a friend, someone who shared the profound joy of watching Sophia grow. "Where are you going?" "It's better if you don't know," he replied gently. "But I've developed a new security protocol for my AI work that requires complete isolation. No connections that could be exploited." Maya understood the unspoken meaning. He was removing himself even further from Sophia's life to protect her. "Will you say goodbye to her?" she asked. Adrian watched his daughter laughing as she went down the slide. "I think it would only confuse her. She's too young to understand temporary absence versus permanent goodbye." He turned to Maya. "But I've made arrangements for her future, for when she's older. When she's 18, if she wants to know me then, there will be a way." Maya nodded, tears threatening. "She'll want to know you. I'll make sure of it." "You're her mother, Maya," Adrian said firmly. "In every way that matters. Don't ever doubt that." As they prepared to leave that day, Adrian knelt to Sophia's level. I have a special present for you, he said, pulling out a small wooden box. Inside was a delicately carved chess piece. A queen. It's pretty, Sophia said, turning it over in her small hands. It's the most powerful piece in chess, Adrian explained. Like you, Sophia. You can move in any direction, become anything you want to be. He glanced up at Maya. Your mom will teach you to play someday. Thank you, my friend, Sophia said, giving him a quick hug before running back to Maya. Adrian stood, composing himself with visible effort. Take care of each other, he said simply, before walking away. Maya watched him go, knowing it might be years before they saw him again, if ever, yet she felt no anger, no resentment, only a profound understanding of the sacrifice he was making. 5 years later, Maya sat across from 8-year-old Sophia at their kitchen table, the wooden chess set between them, a complete set Adrian had sent anonymously on Sophia's 6th birthday. Checkmate, Sophia announced triumphantly, moving her queen into position. You're getting too good for me, Maya laughed, tipping over her king in surrender. Sophia grinned, picking up the queen piece, noticeably more worn than the others, from years of being carried in pockets and backpacks as a lucky charm. Mom, she said suddenly, her expression turning serious, where did this chess set really come from? You said it was from an old friend, but whenever I ask about them, you change the subject. Maya took a deep breath. She had known this day would come, the beginning of the questions that would eventually lead to the full truth. Sophia was still too young for everything, but old enough for the start of the story. It came from someone who loves you very much, she said carefully. Someone who had to go away but who thinks about you every day. Like a father? Sophia asked, her perceptiveness catching Maya off guard. Yes, Maya admitted, like a father. Sophia considered this, turning the queen piece over in her fingers. Will I ever meet him? Someday, Maya promised. When you're older, and when you do, you'll understand why he had to go away, and why he made sure you stayed with me. Sophia nodded, seemingly satisfied for now. I think I'd like that, she said, but I'm glad I have you, Mom. As Sophia reset the chess pieces, Maya glanced at the locket she always wore, tucked beneath her shirt. Inside were the photos of Adrian and Emma, waiting for the day when Sophia would be ready to see them, to know the full story of how a hotel housekeeper and a tech billionaire had both, in their own ways, sacrificed to give one little girl the childhood she deserved. I'm glad I have you too, Maya said, reaching across the chessboard to squeeze her daughter's hand, more than you'll ever know. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us. Application for Luminax. Exactly what they had hoped for. But the victory came at a price. Medicor filed multiple lawsuits. Titan's stock dropped sharply. Several major investors publicly questioned Alexander's leadership. As Rebecca and Alexander prepared for a press conference to explain their decision, Vanessa rushed in with breaking news. Medicor just announced a hostile takeover bid, she said breathlessly. They're going directly to shareholders with an offer 30% above current market value. Alexander took the news with surprising calm. They're desperate. This validates everything we've done. But with the stock price down, shareholders might be tempted, Rebecca worried. Some will be, he acknowledged, but not all. He straightened his tie, preparing to face the press. It's time to remind everyone what Titan stands for. Standing before a room full of journalists, cameras flashing, Alexander spoke with quiet passion about the principles that had guided their decision. Rebecca watched from the side, struck by his transformation from the corporate executive who had once valued profits above all, to this man who was risking everything for what he believed was right. Pharmaceutical companies have a sacred trust, he told the reporters. People put their lives in our hands, their hope, their future. That trust must never be compromised for market advantage or financial gain. What about your fiduciary duty to shareholders? One reporter challenged. Our primary duty is to the patients our medicines treat, Alexander replied. When we honor that commitment, shareholder value follows, sustainable value based on trust and legitimate innovation, not shortcuts and patent maneuvers. As questions flew, Rebecca stepped forward to address the technical aspects of the safety concerns. Together they presented a united front of scientific integrity and ethical leadership. After the press conference, as they walked back to Alexander's office, he stopped suddenly. "I need to show you something." He led her to a small conference room where a video call was set up. On the screen was an elderly woman in a wheelchair, surrounded by what appeared to be a support group. "Ms. Chen? Mr. Morgan?" the woman said. "I'm Patricia Williams, president of the National Lupus Association. We're holding our monthly meeting, and we wanted to thank you personally for what you've done." One by one, people on the screen shared their stories: years of suffering, treatments with devastating side effects, hopes for better options. Their gratitude was palpable, their faces alight with something Rebecca recognized immediately: hope. After the call ended, Rebecca turned to find Alexander with tears in his eyes. "That," he said softly, "is why we founded Titan. Not stock prices, not patents, that." In that moment, something shifted between them, a final wall coming down. Without thinking, Rebecca reached up to brush a tear from his cheek. His hand caught hers, holding it against his face. "I couldn't have done any of this without you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Yes, you could have," Rebecca replied. "You just needed to remember who you really are." The battle for Titan's future was far from over. Medicore's hostile takeover bid loomed, lawsuits threatened. The road ahead would be difficult and uncertain, but standing there with Alexander, seeing the man he had become, the man he had perhaps always been beneath the corporate armor, Rebecca felt an unshakable certainty that whatever came next, they would face it together. Not just as colleagues or allies, but as two people who had discovered something profound in each other: the courage to stand for what matters, no matter the cost. And in that courage, perhaps something even more valuable was growing. Something neither had expected to find in the aftermath of illness and injustice, something that made all their professional victories pale in comparison. As Alexander finally released her hand, his eyes still holding hers, Rebecca knew with sudden clarity that their greatest chapter was just beginning. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.